Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, I wanted to talk about education. I wanted to talk about the difference between education and learning, and I want to try to understand what actually happens when we try to educate a person or children in general. So, education is something that we as human beings or as adults try to impose on children. Well, I don't mean impose in a bad manner, because this is a sensible thing that any parent will do, because the aspects of developing a child is also developing his or her brain into certain types of thinking, into training the brain, training the child's brain into certain ways of thinking, certain ways of mathematical thinking, certain ways of critical thinking, and certain ways of reason, and developing these capabilities in a child. So this is what we actually call education, and this is what we try to do to any child. We try to educate them by by putting them into education systems where these capabilities are developed over time. Now, now there are certain pros and cons to this, and of course, education is compulsory on every child, and every child should have proper education and be able to learn. But at the end of the day, the the highest form of education is where you give the child certain tool sets, certain developmental tool sets that he or she can utilize to further his education even after his so-called education is done. Now here, when I speak of education system, I can only speak of the education system that I myself went through. So if I'm talking about certain aspects that are probably already introduced in different other countries, like Europe or America, or I'm mostly talking about the third world countries and the education systems that we follow here in our system. I am I'm not talking about the Waldorf schools or the other education systems that have successfully been implemented by people in the Europe or in Germany or all these other countries. So here, mainly in India, we have two streams. Majority of people or children go through these two streams. These are usually streams which are designed from a Western perspective. That is, science is given more priority here because it is much more factual and is able to develop critical and logical reasoning inside a person's mind. And when you stop thinking scientifically, you actually stop thinking rationally. So, so the problem that I want to address here in this particular video is the problem of the majority of the education system that we have is focused towards specialization. It is focused towards something something that is capable of improving the the faculty of the brain of the child, which can then lead the child to produce more money or bring more capital into his or her family. So most of the education that you see here is aimed towards capitalism. It is aimed towards making the child become more uh, attractor of money. So in this, what happens is successfully sometimes the education systems are successfully in it, and you can see this in the previous decade. Our per capita income has increased rapidly, and by I think 23%. It is probably because of these education systems which are in place and which are successful in that manner. They are able to. We have been successful in rapidly increasing our information technology IT sector and many other sectors which are now capable of even competing with the first world countries, and see that a lot of our children grow up to become great doctors and great computer science scientists and IT professionals. But we don't really produce original thinkers. This is what I feel is the right time for India to look into, to produce original thinkers, and this is how the education system should further evolve. Now, there are certain and many faults with our current education system because it is not capable of understanding child psychology. It is looking at children purely as if they are programmable creatures. It is not regarding child emotion. It is not regarding passion. It is not regarding professionalism. Well, it is regarding professionalism, but it is not regarding the artistic side of a child or a young person. And eventually, you see a lot of young people, even after securing a great job, are falling into a lot of mental health issues and eventually losing the jobs because of these mental health issues. And the competition is so much that we suffer a lot of self-esteem issues, a lot of issues regarding to our with our self-esteem, and we have always been when it comes to education, we don't really take into account the attributes of the child. We take into account what the child should be like. For example, when a, when a when a child goes through something called an engineering education, they are only focused to study these three subjects: maths, physics, and chemistry. And sometimes in bigger educational institutes, which obviously gain a lot of money by alluring the parents, by telling them that the institutes, that the colleges that are going to accept these students are going to give them packages of up to 1 crore package, 2 crores package, and they make their children go through this education system which is highly competitive, and then the child is only made to learn these three subjects: maths, physics, and chemistry. And this is not just in the engineering background students, it is also in the students who are training for a BPC, who opt biology as their major and who go on to do MBBS, or and further who do medicine. So if these students face will have to study these three subjects. That is, if a person opts to study medicine, then he or she will study biology, physics, and chemistry for 8 years before giving the exam. And the engineering student will study maths, physics, and chemistry for 8 years before giving the exam. So imagine the person who is constantly studying maths, physics, and chemistry and training his mind to think in terms of maths, physics, and chemistry, how will this person be thinking? What kind of philosophy will he or she hold after he goes through such an education? Now, now there are many institutes who demand very high amount of fees and from the parents, and of course the parents work hard somehow and put the children into these education systems to not train the person according to their attributes, but to train the child according to the wishes of the institute and what they demand or what the business is demanding. Now, since some of the some of the people predicted that there is going to be a so-called boom of IT sector, there have been many people who just enrolled into computer science and IT without without considering their own personal passions and ambitions. Now, I talk a lot about purpose and individuality and identity in this channel, and hence I find it very difficult to find similar people, similar thinking people, similar minded people, because most of them are stuck in jobs right now and they are not capable of thinking for themselves. Many of them aren't. Even if some of them are, they don't have the tool sets or they don't have the required education to enhance their skills. For example, a person who is going through the 8-year journey of studying maths, physics, and chemistry is eventually, if he or she is interested in arts or philosophy, will find that he is losing his job to pursue this pursuit. And even if he is doing, he is somehow ridiculed by their parents or by the society in general. It is looked at as if there is something wrong with the person, and if he or she pursues this for but if we introduce the child to art and philosophy in a younger age, he would have been capable of enhancing these skills which he is much more interested in and can put his utmost energy towards these subjects and learn accordingly to his will and to his interest, enhance enhance his skill and ability. But it doesn't happen that way. We are usually told to do, and I understand that it is because we are from a third world country and we haven't been really progressing in the international level. But I feel like it is time that we broaden our minds to inculcate such education and encourage people accordingly. So a child from a village can be good at arts and philosophy, can be really, really good at philosophy or even physics. But this talent is not recognized by a lot of people, even their parents. And these children are forced to do labor work, or they are forced to go through an MBA or management when they are supposed to be doing research in physics or mathematics. Now, the first thing I want to present as a solution here is something that I call child profiling, which is profiling each and every child by looking at their attributes. Now, there are many things that we can do when it comes to education, and when it comes to improving our education, and I don't think a lot of people are thinking in that direction. We are here solving problems and waging wars with other countries and waging wars with groups among ourselves, but we are not thinking of certain issues that are related to psychology and to child development. Now, I want to propose this thing called child profiling, in which the teacher profiles each and every child according to certain attributes. Now, these teachers can go through a certain training for 10 or 15 days by child psychologists, child developmental psychologists, who can give a brief about how to profile a child and how to look at a child's attributes, and then automate this process and be able to profile each and every child accordingly. Now, when they are going through their when they are young, these children should have an in-depth report and in-depth profiling of them and of their attributes and their talents, which are unique to them and them alone. And I say that there is a uniqueness in every child. There is a certain siddhi or a certain power that every child is born with. The only problem is recognition. And once this uniqueness is recognized and fueled enough energy and awareness, then the uniqueness will lead to making the child do something much more innovative and give value to the society in a much more broader sense. So, for example, a child may find when he grows up that he is not really interested in making money, then that child should be put into social service, or he or she should be given a chance to work as a social worker or an educator of some kind. But so child profiling can help us recognize the unique talents that we have, the impressions that we are born with, because at the end of the day, children are not minds. They are souls born with hearts and minds. They have emotions, and their experiences are a unique imprint on this universe. So this is true for every single person, not just a few special ones. It is true for every single child. The problem is integration of different personalities, and the problems in our education systems, to be honest, because they are focusing on specialization and not on integration. So the child profiling can help us understand the attributes and talents of the child, and every school, no matter what curriculum they follow or what kind of education system they follow, must have something called child profiling. It should be an important thing, and every teacher should be taught a little bit on child development psychology, especially Jungian psychology, because there has been a lot of good results from Jungian psychologists and from the Waldorf schools, from Rudolf Steiner's work. In these two psychologists have worked directly and integrated a lot of wisdom schools and have come to conclusions that are that can greatly help in child development. And the problem that we see, or the major problem that we see, can really be solved by going to the roots, by creating or even intending to create a good society for our next generation. Now, eradication of problems and problem solving can happen only when we train our children in a very articulate manner in which we give children the tools that they can use to enhance their own skills, not the skills that are required by the industry or that are required to increase the country's GDP or increase technological advances, but to increase the integration of the child himself. Now, when we do this, we can introduce child profiling, and there should be child psychologists looking after each and every school or every education system should have a department of psychology dedicated to them, and they should consult psychologists who are trained in, in either the works of Carlin or the works of Waldorf of Rudolf Steiner. And this consultation can help understand uh, which child can be trained accordingly. And each and every subject that we train should also be looked into. Religion should be introduced as a subject, and philosophy and arts should also be introduced and given more priority, because a child will eventually find himself questioning things about his beliefs, about his social systems, about his political systems, and when he finds that he is questioning these things, he should have the required knowledge that is and required education that can help him question in a better manner, and he or she should be rewarded by for his education and endeavors into this education of or into this curiosity that leads him or her into religious and philosophical investigation, even artistic investigation. But we don't see that. We actually try to we look at the artists or the philosophers or religious heretics to as someone who are rebels or who are not eligible or who are someone away from the society. Hence, child profiling should be introduced in each and every school. It doesn't matter if it is a rural school. It should be introduced to the teachers, and the teacher should be trained to profile a child. And every subject in every class should be divided into not grades, like 6th grade or 7th grade. They should be divided into levels, and each subject at each level should be again divided into 3 levels, wherein a person who is not good at math or who is not good at critical thinking should be changed into a lower level, in which a lower level is given less time and a higher level is given more time. So, for example, if a child is more good at drawing or more better at geometry, then he should be in a higher level, it is level 3 of geometry, which gives thrice as much time to the child so that he can develop his already established and already confirmed skills. Whereas if he is not good at mathematics, then he should be assigned less time, so that of course his critical thinking and his thinking about number develops, but he is more time to enhance his already available talent. And this is in no regard against our religions or our philosophies that we hold, the major philosophies that we hold, because according to our religions, we believe that a child is not a mind, but he or she is a soul. The impressions that he or she has, the samskaras he or she has, or the nakush that he or she has, are unique to his or her individuality. So this is in no regard against our religion. So we should be actually promoting this. So, so education should be prioritized here, and our resources should go towards education because children can lead. If they are given the proper tool sets, they can make a better future for themselves, and we as a nation and a society can also grow. And not just that, I also think that religious studies should be made compulsory, because when we introduce religious studies as subject in our education system, then we start to look at religion as something differently. We start to look at religion as a subject rather than uh, a thing that is very personal to us. For example, we think that science and mathematics are indifferent. Nobody can argue that maths is my unique thing, but we do that in religion because it is ingrained into the child by associating religion with something that is given by the family, by the name that he or she holds. When you introduce religion as a subject, the children and the young people start to look at religion as something that is indifferent, that is something that they can explore and be interested in, rather than giving the education only one type of religious education. We can give the child or the young person education of all different religious philosophies and all different divinized tools that the child can use to enhance his particular talent. Now, there are a lot of things that I learned from Islam, that I learned from Hinduism, that I learned from Buddhism uniquely, and I inculcated them into my life, which make my life more integrated. Whereas if I had followed only one religion, which most people tend to do, I would have not been able to integrate the different parts of myself, the different personalities, the other personalities. I could have never been able to integrate them all. So it is important to introduce religious studies as a subject. So thank you for watching this video. This video was probably more political in nature, and I apologize for that. But this is something that needs to be thought about. So even if one person is affected by what I'm talking about here, it can help. It can help multiply the thought process. It can help people think more in a line to what I'm speaking here. It can lead and make us move towards a good nation, towards a diverse nation. That we unity in diversity is what made us find independence. That is what made us be Indian. But we are going astray. We are moving away from our original ideas. So thank you for watching this video, and be sure to like and share this to as many people as you can, so that people are aware of what I'm talking about here, and eventually somebody will act upon it. So thank you for watching this video.